Some of the stories we tell here at the CBC touch not only you, the viewer, reader, and listener, but also, very often, the reporters who tell them. Our colleague Belle Puri told a story 10 years ago that she says still resonates with her to this day. The story of a homeless man and the troubles he faced after he won a lottery prize.
Hard times of dog Steve Boric for several years.
I got separated, I had some medical issues, I got depressed.
He survives on temporary day-to-day work.
I've never been on welfare, I will not go on welfare. I want to just take care of myself.
We first met the 57-year-old last spring when he lived under a tree in a clearing on the edge of the Fraser River, in a home he built with salvaged building supplies and tarps.
There's a kitchen, the fridge is a blue thing. There's a portable toilet for emergencies only. We bought a whole gang, but no coffee.
It was private property. The owners told him to leave. He found another place to pitch his tent. In the summer, it seemed his luck had changed.
In July, I won $25,000 on the lottery.
It was an $8 Keno ticket that apparently won big. We went back to double check.
Can you run that through your machine?
Sure.
He was right.
Congratulations, you've won a major prize.
Then an unfortunate twist.
I tried to cash the ticket, and Lotto BC will not cash my ticket because I do not have photo ID.
He can't get new photo identification without a birth certificate, and he can't get a new Quebec birth certificate without photo identification, leaving Boric out in the cold, literally.
I love to be inside for Christmas. That was my plan in July when I won the money, is to be in for Christmas. And to tell you the truth, if I got my ticket cashed today, I'd give $1,000 to the gospel mission or something to help other homeless people.
After 5 months of Boric trying to get ID, we got involved. And finally, one of our calls landed in the right office. An NDP staffer who works for Victoria MLA Carol James knew how to get a Quebec birth certificate. She's done it before for other homeless people. Just fill out the right papers.
Okay, so that's all done. That's done.
Now it's just waiting. The birth certificate should arrive in 3 weeks, and then it's back to the lottery office.
Merry Christmas.
All the best.
The windfall, Boric says, will give him a new beginning, a real roof over his head, and the courage to reach out to his family.
That is one of thousands of stories done by this woman, the CBC's Belle Puri. Today is her last day with the CBC News. After 48 years in journalism, she's about to embark on new adventures in retirement and beyond. Thank you for being here. First of all, what goes through your mind when you see Steve Boric's story?
That was, people keep asking me which stories stay in your mind. That one totally does. Because, when he first told us, I have this dilemma. Yeah. I'm like, no problem, we'll fix it. But you heard 5 months of bureaucracy and catch-22s everywhere we turned. And I don't know what came over me, but I was like, I am not going to be defeated by the system. And he got his birth certificate and he got his ID, and then we went to BC Lotto and collected his $25,000 check. In the time that we had been doing all those stories, he attracted attention, and a construction company offered him a job, so he was working, and that day he was going to get his check, and then he was going out to sign a lease on a apartment rental. It was a wonderful story. Wonderful.
Life-changing.
Life-changing. And I think about him often and hope that everything is still good.
From that to presidents, you've been lucky to be in the right place at the right time with a certain commander-in-chief. I'm told this was a gift shop. What happened?
Yes, well, it was during the Boris Yeltsin, Bill Clinton summit. It was down at the Canada Place on a weekend. And one of our former colleagues, camera operator, we were down there. Everything was over, and we thought we were heading back to our truck, but we ended up through the parking lot, and there was a gift shop down there, and Alan and I both just kind of look up, and I'm like, oh, so it's Bill Clinton. He's shopping, he's picking up trinkets on his way home. Yeah. And the time was so different then. Like today, it would have been an incident, but no one said anything to us, and we just kind of stood back and let him shop. And the security people didn't say anything, and he kind of waved and said hi, and then he went away, and then the shop owner told us what he bought and how much he spent.
Hopefully there was quality trinkets.
Yes.
From something slightly lighter, in the depths of the pandemic, you did a series of stories from Royal Columbian Hospital with patients in critical care, intubated, their families, and how difficult that was on them, and the healthcare workers trying to keep them alive. Why was it important to be in there for you?
Oh, I think people totally needed to understand that these numbers were not just numbers, they were people. And there's another example of how much work we put into before we actually get to a story. It was weeks, months of working with Fraser Health, trying to convince them that it was a good idea that I go in there and with a camera colleague. And then this family came forward. The dad, 44 years old, was totally fine, got sick, and then it was COVID, and then he had to move from one hospital to RCH and ICU, and they shared their story with us. And then the sad part is a couple months later, he passed away. But it was, look, this is for real. And that story was about people, the patients. And then we went back and we talked to the nurses and doctors who we had talked to in the first story to see how they were doing. And that was an entirely different story about the impact on them and their lives and their personal lives at home.
Such a broad sweep of such a different and difficult time. A colleague of ours said today, we are here because of you, in that you paved the way for many South Asian journalists to thrive in this industry. What does that mean to you?
I was speechless when I heard that. It wasn't intentional. I mean, when I was hired, at that point, they were just trying to get more women into newsrooms. And I'm sure that's all was on anyone's mind, was get a female into the newsroom. The rest of it was just happened. And was really a wonderful thing. And now I see across the board how our communities are reflected. And if I had a hand in that, that's great.
48 years in journalism, Belle Puri. Thank you for being a mentor, a friend, the service, and a great deal of fun. We love you.
Thank you, my friend.